When she realizes your silence isn't a game, it's a decision. Something shifts inside her. But before we get to her, let's talk about you, because you're the one carrying the weight of this moment. If this is you, you didn't go silent to punish her. You didn't disappear to play mind games. You pulled back because you were tired of explaining yourself to someone who never listened. You were tired of being the only one fighting for something she treated like it would always be there. Maybe this feels familiar. You used to type long messages trying to fix everything, trying to make her see your heart, trying to hold together something that kept slipping through your hands. And every time you reached out, she grew colder. Every time you tried harder, she pulled further. Until one day, you finally stopped. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but because you were exhausted. And now the silence she once ignored, she feels it. It's different. It's heavy. It's real. She scrolls through old messages wondering when the shift happened. She replays arguments trying to figure out the moment you broke. She checks your profile, your status, your activity, not because she cares about what you're doing, but because she's terrified of what you're not doing. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, does she even notice? Does she even care? And deep down, a quieter question whispers, what if walking away was the first time I finally chose myself? Because this silence, your silence, isn't a strategy. It's closure. It's self-respect. It's the moment you stopped chasing someone who never met you halfway. But here's what you're really wondering. When she finally understands that your silence wasn't a phase, but a turning point, what happens next? When she realizes your silence isn't a game, but a decision, you have to understand something first. Most men get this moment completely wrong. They think silence is about waiting for her to come running back, or proving a point, or trying to spark some reaction. That's why it never works for them, because their silence is rooted in fear, not in strength. A man who's grounded, a man who's clear. He doesn't go silent to manipulate. He goes silent because he's finally done abandoning himself to keep someone else comfortable. That's the difference most men never learn. They treat silence like a tactic, when in reality it's supposed to be a reflection of inner stability. And when a woman senses that, the dynamic changes instantly. If you've been taught that chasing harder shows love, or that explaining yourself over and over will earn respect, hear this like advice from an older brother. A woman can feel when you're operating from anxiety instead of self-respect. She can feel when you're trying to hold on instead of choosing what's actually right for you. The core masculine principle you were never told is this: your presence is powerful, but your absence is decisive. Not because it scares her, but because it reveals who you are without the noise, without the negotiation, without the begging to be understood. And the moment your silence comes from clarity, not confusion, she feels that truth more loudly than any words you could have spoken. She sits on the edge of her bed, the glow of her phone lighting the room in soft, anxious blue. Your name at the top of the chat, untouched. No new messages, no typing bubbles, just silence. A silence she used to shrug off, laugh at, assume you'd break first. But this time, it feels different. She scrolls up to your old messages, those long paragraphs you once poured out trying to fix what she kept breaking. She can almost hear your voice in them, steady, patient, hopeful. And a small part of her whispers, God, why did I push him that far? The room feels colder than it should. Even she notices that. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your car, parked somewhere quiet. Windows fog slightly from your breath in the cool night air. Your phone is face down, not because you're trying to make a point, but because you don't need to see what you already know. You stare ahead at nothing, but inside your mind it's loud, not chaotic, just honest for the first time in a long time. I don't want to fight for someone who doesn't fight for me. I'm tired. I deserve better than explanations that never change anything. You can still remember the last argument, the way her tone shifted, the way she dismissed your feelings like they were an inconvenience, the moment she walked away assuming you'd chase, like always, assuming your heart was hers to play with, to test, to stretch until it snapped, but the snap never came. Just silence. Back in her room, she presses her thumb over the screen, considering a message. Deletes it, types again, deletes again. She hates how heavy her chest feels, how the quiet between you suddenly feels like a wall she can't see over. This isn't him, she whispers to herself. He always texts back. And that's when it hits her. The realization she never saw coming. It's not a game, it's not a mood, it's not a test. It's a decision. A decision you made the moment you finally saw yourself clearly, without the noise, the drama, the hope that things would magically change. A decision that carries more weight than any goodbye ever could. She feels it, you feel it, and somewhere in the silence between you, the truth echoes louder than words ever did. A lot of men walk into this moment with the wrong beliefs and they don't even realize it. One of the biggest lies you've probably carried is the idea that if you just try a little harder, explain yourself a little more, give her just one more chance to understand you, eventually she'll value you the way you value her. But all that does is teach her that your love comes with no boundaries, that you'll tolerate anything so long as you're trying. Another false belief is thinking your silence only matters if it gets a reaction from her, that it's only working if she texts, calls, panics, or comes running back. But that's not silence, that's strategy. And strategy is just another form of emotional dependence. Real silence is a reflection of who you've become, not a tactic to change her behavior. You're not here to manipulate her, you're here to stop betraying yourself. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. The moment you stop chasing what continually hurts you, your silence becomes power, not punishment. And when she realizes your silence wasn't meant to trigger her, but to protect you, that's when everything shifts. She didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. A man's silence becomes dangerous the moment he finds peace in it. You don't need to be louder. You just need to stop abandoning the man you're becoming. The difference between most men and the rare 3% man has nothing to do with tricks, tactics, or perfectly timed silence. It's rooted in how he sees himself, and that changes everything when a woman realizes his silence isn't a game but a decision. This is what he understands. His value isn't determined by who chooses him or who walks away. He doesn't anchor his identity to someone else's mood, attention, or approval. His silence isn't withdrawal. It's alignment. It's him choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, self-respect over emotional chasing. Most men stay stuck because they react. The 3% man responds from a grounded place. He doesn't use silence to make her nervous. He uses it to reconnect with himself. He's not trying to test her. He's testing his own standards. This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He doesn't need to force a connection or convince someone to stay. His energy is calm, consistent, and self-directed. A woman can feel that. She senses the difference between a man who's quiet because he's afraid and a man who's quiet because he's finally certain. And here's the shift he lives by. If someone truly values you, your presence inspires them. If they don't, your absence reveals them. He chooses himself without abandoning compassion. He walks away without bitterness, and his silence carries weight, not because he's trying to prove a point, but because he no longer negotiates with anything that steals his peace. That's the 3% mindset, not louder, not colder, just stronger. And you're closer to it than you think. It happens quietly, almost too quietly for you to notice at first. You're sitting alone, maybe in your room, maybe outside, maybe in the car with the engine off. And for the first time in a long time, you're not obsessively checking your phone. You're not rehearsing what you could say. You're not replaying the last conversation, trying to find the moment everything slipped. Instead, you just breathe. And in that breath, something inside you unclenches. It's subtle, like a knot coming undone, like a weight shifting off a place you didn't realize was carrying so much. Your chest feels different, not lighter, but clearer. You look at your phone, not because you're waiting, but because you realize you aren't anymore. This is the turning point. You're not wondering whether she'll text back. You're wondering why you ever believed her attention was the measure of your worth. You're not hoping for an apology. You're recognizing that you deserve consistency long before silence became your only language. It hits you almost poetically. I'm not losing anything. I'm remembering myself. And the realization spreads through you slowly, like warm light reaching the corners of a room that's been dim for too long. You stop seeing your silence as a strategy. You begin to see it as a mirror reflecting the man you forgot you were, the one who doesn't beg to be heard, who doesn't chase to be chosen, who doesn't shrink himself to keep someone else comfortable. This moment isn't loud and it isn't dramatic. It's steady, grounded, unshakably calm, because your awakening isn't about her realizing anything at all. It's about you realizing that the second you stopped waiting, you started becoming whole again. Your silence became powerful the moment it stopped hoping for her and started honoring you.